Hello and welcome. I am Snyder from Snyder's Sunshine Art Studio where creativity shines. With over 20 years of public school teaching experience, I bring step-by-step art instructions and ready-to-use art lessons to spark creativity in students and offer art teachers a much-needed reprieve. Let's create something wonderful together. Well, hello. It is A.M. Snyder from SnyderSunshineArtStudio.com, here to shine some creativity into your world and some warm, loving hearts. So these hearts are taken from a prior video. So this is like part 2 of part 1, where we used different media to produce each heart. And I showed you how each media can help produce the highlight in the center, which is showing the range of value from dark to light. The dark is on the outside, the lighter value is in the inside, to create the illusion of that roundness of the center of the heart. I used marker with water, and then color pencil, crayon, regular gray pencil, oil pastels, and then watercolor. Now, in that video, I had a different set of colors. I used the same colors used for this one, but it's still the same concept. So now what we're going to do is we're going to divide our hearts so that each has their own little section, in which we're going to use some watercolor techniques with the backgrounds of the hearts. Now, as an art teacher, many art teachers refer to Jim Dine's hearts as reference during the time of year in February where Valentine's Day is very popular. And so Jim Dine is an artist who uses the hearts in his artwork to evoke different emotions. His emotions, as well as the viewer who looks at the hearts, and they can draw a connection based off of shared experiences in life and how people are emotional about things. Some of his hearts are not so beautiful and colorful and bright. Some are very dark, look like they've been scratched at, and hearts have been hurt or injured or torn apart for that matter. So this idea that I'm coming up with these hearts are somewhat connected to that artist. So as an art teacher, you can always look to Google and pull some of his images. As a student, you may want to look at his images to get an idea how you can show your emotions and feelings through your artwork with the symbol of the heart. Now that I've gone through all of that, I have a black crayon. And I'm going to use the black crayon to color around the pencil, colored pencil here. And I'm going to start off with a itchy, scratchy, vertical line, so it looks kind of dark and dingy. And overall, these are watercolor techniques. This is going to be more of a crayon resist because of the black and then the watercolor that's going to be used on top of it. So the background is dark and the heart is light. Creates a contrast, which is enjoyable as well. I'm going to use black, and when I use the black watercolor, if I use less water, it will be darker, and then if I add water to it, it will get lighter, going back to the term of value. And then that crayon will resist mixing with the watercolor, and so that will show up with its texture. So the crayon's creating a crayon resist with a texture in the background, and I'm adding water to make it lighter in some areas of the space around the bright orange heart. And that is now complete. Okay, so let's do this one right here, where I'm going to make the space all wet, and then I'm going to add paint to it. Now I touch the marker so that's going to bleed out. And you know what? That may actually create a fun effect as well. So I'm just going to keep going with it and making sure this stays wet. And then I'm going to add a color to it. Now I touched the black watercolor and that's bleeding into it as well. But that's okay because we're creating some emotions and feelings here through these techniques. Alright, so now it's all wet and I'm going to add some green as a contrast again to that heart. And because it's wet, it's going to do this blooming or blossoming effect where the paint's going to expand out as I touch the wet. So the wet paint is on the wet paper and they're going to expand out. I'm just going to do this to fill in the space and create this effect. Okay. Alright. So again, we have a crayon heart, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use blue, and I'm going to start off with a dark value, so less water at the top, and then I'm going to pull with water the paint down. And by adding water to that band of blue and then tilting the paper, it's going to do a drip drip effect. Drip drip effect. Okay. Now the black wants to drip too. We can help move this along by pulling and adding and manipulating. Tap, tap. Now I'm going to clean that up because I don't want my table to bubble up. Okay. All right. Now I would like the idea of some of this underneath the heart here, so I'm going to add. I'm going to tap it. Yes, there we go. Tap, tap. And of course I'm going to clean that up. Okay, so that's kind of a drip. Gravity's helping to pull it down. Makes it look kind of runny. We can help it. Okay, so now I'm going to take and put watercolor behind this gray pencil. I'm going to use some blending here. I'm going to use some yellows, reds, and I'm going to get some orange worked out here. Okay, so keeping this wet, working quickly. It's very important to work quickly so it doesn't dry. And get some red. And red and yellow are primary colors, so they'll make orange, which is a secondary color. And if I am working quick enough, I have a pen. You can always use a toothpick. And I'm going to scrape into the paper, and the paint is going to fall into those scratches and create another kind of texture, which creates a different kind of emotion or feeling. So that could have been done first. So I could scratch into the paper first and then add the paint on top of it. And now that I said that, I'll do that for this one just a little bit, and then we'll see what that looks like. Or do I want to do it down here? I think I want to do it down here. So I'm going to do a little bit. Yeah, I think I'm going to do it around the heart and see what happens. Alright. Like stitches around the heart. Okay. And then taking our color do I want to use? Let's try purple for this. And it will go into those scratches. Maybe I'll blend some blue into the purple like I did up here. So this time I scratched the paper first. And we can make some blue violet. And blue violet is a tertiary color. It's a pretty color. All right. So now we'll do this. We'll do this oil pastel one. I'm going to use oil pastel like I used crayon here, and I'm going to use bright colors, and we're going to color in a few little marks. And I use the bright because the heart is dark. And some pink. So I have a cat named Ruth. And I leave the door open so that she doesn't dig out the door. But then my son's out there with his games and his friends on the games, and he's talking really loud. So I close the door. The cat wants to be in here, but when I close the door, then she paws at the door. She wants to leave. And it's like, you want to be in here, but you don't want the door shut. But I have to shut the door because my son is being noisy. It is a bit of a struggle to film. I put my finger in there. Alright, so I have some bright colors in here. And I'm going to go ahead and use, I think I'll use green to paint over the oil pastel. And we shall see what that looks like. So, oil pastel resist, watercolor, oil pastel resist, and then crayon resist. We have wet into wet. We have scratching to make textures. We have the idea of dripping, and we have blending of two colors. We have the blooming or blossoming of the colors. So we have many different watercolor techniques depicted in this one little artwork. And this is a half sheet of paper. So you could take these hearts and cut them apart and put them onto smaller folded sheets of paper, and then you can have little cards that you made. You would have 6 cards. And if this is a half sheet and you did this on another half sheet, you would have a total of 12 cards in which you can give out to those you care about or you're thinking about for this time of year. You can also take Sharpie or any other materials, paint, tempera paint, oil pastels, and write on top of the hearts. I could take an oil pastel and draw another color in there. There are possibilities that you can continue to work with these hearts. You can also cut them, cut the centers out, and make collages with them as well. And maybe I'll come back with that video later on. But for now, I hope that you have enjoyed following along with A.M. Snyder, who enjoys shining creativity into your world, and that you have discovered some new watercolor techniques and how you can apply them to your artwork to evoke feelings or emotions with texture, because that's kind of what happened here. We produced some textures, and that texture evokes those emotions and feelings. Again, A.M. Snyder here from Snyder Sunshine Art Studio. Always happy to shine creativity into your world and beyond. Until next time, bye-bye.